I've got a secret for you about your money, your health, and your relationships. Something big that will change everything. If you skip this, you'll miss out on a future of true abundance. So don't scroll past. What you've called just enough was really my way of showing you that my well never runs dry. It wasn't that small amount you've been mentally adding up at the end of each month. It wasn't the careful way you've been holding back your love because someone once told you love could run out. It wasn't the small bit of peace you allow yourself before guilt shows up and takes the rest. Right now, your cup is already fuller than you can even feel, and the table around you is filled with more than you've been able to see yet. Stick close to this kitchen counter for the next few minutes. Let me explain why. Just enough has been like a lid you put on a cup I've been quietly filling way past the top for years. And let me put into your hands a sentence. I once spoke through a tired prophet to tired people. A sentence that will quiet right now the old feeling that the abundance I keep talking about belongs to other people's lives and never to yours. Listen to this thought above everything else I'm about to tell you. Your cup is overflowing in heaven before it overflows in your hand. Now, as you hold that truth, I invite you to make it personal. Type Amen in the comments below, as a sign that you are releasing the old lid and agreeing that heaven's overflow is already yours. Let that word be your first step into the deeper opening we're about to walk through together. Stay with me. We'll go all the way to the end where a prayer will seal this release. Before we go deeper, hit the like button now. Liking this video will activate the flow of God's favor in your life. I see you. Your fingers have been feeling the edge of the same small cup for years, looking for the exact level where you'd finally be able to relax. The mother who stopped asking me for help with her money because she started believing that asking for more than just getting by was a kind of greed I wouldn't bless. That mother is right in front of me now. A young person quietly agreed with the voices that compared her to others, believing the love in her life would always be less than the love in other lives, and stopped praying for a full life because a little bit seemed like that. The father who lost his job 2 springs back has taught himself to call constant worry responsibility and didn't notice when the word changed meaning inside him. Most she could hope for. An older person watched the table where her family once gathered get emptier each year and has started silently apologizing for having hope that the table will be full again. A single person whose apartment has felt too quiet for too long trimmed the dream of a partner down to least a few good friends because the smaller version fell. A widow measured her small jar of oil one more time at the end of a long month and tried not to imagine what would happen when it ran out. Less silly to keep hoping for. Someone whose health stopped working right 2 springs ago has narrowed their prayer down to fewer bad days because the word thriving started to feel like a word for other people. A family eating at different times because work schedules don't match up has stopped expecting evenings together because expecting it started to hurt. None of this cutting back is hidden from me. Each smaller request landed on my ear with the full weight of what it was supposed to be. And the original size has been held in my hand for you the whole time you've been okay with the cut. A down version. I'm not upset about the trim, I'm tender about it. A heart that was let down early learns almost as a way to survive. To measure the cup carefully so that disappointment can't spill over the edge a second time. That isn't a lack of faith. That's the bruise of a child who once held the cup forward with both hands and watched someone turn the picture away. I don't scold the bruise. I am making the cup wider from the inside slowly, so the abundance coming has room to enter without hurting the part of you that became careful for good reasons. Open both hands in your lap, turn your palms upward. Let them stay there for the length of the next paragraph without doing anything useful with them. Your hands have been acting like a lid on the cup for a long time, clamping, gripping, holding the edge steady so that whatever was inside wouldn't spill out. That position of open palms is older than language itself, older than any organized prayer. Into a room you didn't trust. Let them stop being a lid for a little while. Notice how the underside of each palm cools a little once it's no longer pressing against an edge. Those hands at rest in your lap were not made to be lids. They were made to be cups themselves. A cup is what a hand becomes the moment it stops trying to hold things in and starts being willing to take in what is being poured. Breathe with me, 3 slow breaths in through your nose without forcing. Out through your mouth without acting. 3 is plenty. Notice how the third exhale stretches out a little longer than the first on its own without you telling it to. A chest that has been given an honest invitation tends to open up by itself. That opening up isn't a trick you owe me. That opening up is recognizing something. Something inside you knows the difference between being told to do something and being offered something. And it's responding to my offer the way a familiar door responds to a familiar hand. Hear that line a second time slowly as you sit with your hands open long before any abundance arrives on the table down here. It is already being fully poured in the upper room where I prepare what is yours. The reason you haven't felt the rim filling against your fingers yet isn't that I'm holding back. It's that your inside structure is still being made wider to take a pour whose amount would otherwise crack the cup at the seam. What looks from the outside like a slow trickle is just what happens when a much larger pouring is being held back upstream until the cup down here can take it. Each season you walk with me, I'm quietly making the cup bigger without breaking. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. Faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give and it will be given to you is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. The habit of cutting back what you ask for wasn't your idea. It was put in place by careful hands over many seasons. A parent once measured every plate at the table and made you feel bad for being the one whose appetite was biggest. And a small filing system inside you decided right then that asking openly was a kind of bad behavior. A relationship ended one season after you had spoken a bigger hope, and the person leaving said on the way out the door that the love between you couldn't hold what? A teacher in some classroom told everyone that wanting too much was the first sin, and you privately agreed never to want too much again. You had asked for, and that idea stuck in your mind without your permission. Inside one church, the prayers of the well-spoken one sounded so humble that yours suddenly sounded greedy by comparison. Even though greed had nothing to do with what your heart was actually asking for. None of those lessons came from me. Some of the people who taught them loved you in their own way and were just passing along an idea that had been given to them by the generation before. Never really looked at. Other people copied the sound of my voice on purpose to keep you small enough to be useful to their own plans. No matter where it came from, a fake ceiling settled over the top of your cup. And that ceiling has made you think the low height of a lid was the actual height of the room above it. Lift the lid off. The ceiling was never put up by me. The sky is the real height above your cup. And the sky is the size of my plan for what fills it. You were taught in one place or another along the way that abundance was a prize given to believers who finally showed enough faith to deserve it. You were taught that the holy people with full cups must have created that fullness from within by hard work, constant giving, sleepless prayer. You were taught that asking for more than just getting by was suspicious, and that asking for a peaceful home was almost greedy, and that asking for your family to a kind of confidence you've never quite been able to keep going for long. Be put back together was nearly proud. You were taught that a believer whose cup looks low must have done something to make it lower, because the spiritual ones in the front row always seem to have plenty. That is not how abundance has ever moved through my kingdom. Filling any cup has never gone by that rule on my side of the counter. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this prophetic word. Sharing will activate the anointing and share the breakthrough with your network. A picture has been hanging in the inner room of your chest for years. A believer with raised hands, a shining smile, a thick wallet, problem solved, a life so perfect it looks like a brochure. And the brush that painted it was not mine. Some of those painters loved you in their own way, and were repeating a picture given to them by tired generations before. Other painters used my name on purpose to sell you a smaller message that needed your effort to keep going. And it has been quietly teaching you that abundance looks like a billboard when the real shape of abundance in my world is much more like a kitchen table at the end of a long day with the right people around it, and a soft lamp on lean the billboard. No matter where it came from, the picture was wrong. Against the wall. Let me describe what overflow actually looks like inside my house. Overflow in my world isn't first a bank account growing. It is a marriage that has started talking again after a long silence. It is a body that has finally agreed to sleep through the night for the first time in months. It is a child returning a phone call without being asked. It is a peace that arrives in your chest on an ordinary today and stays through the news that lands wrong in the afternoon. It is a friendship that finds its second wind on a walk that had only been planned for 10 minutes. It is the disappearance of a fear that had been living rent-free in your shoulders for So many years you no longer remembered what your shoulders felt like without it. It is a meal that tastes like a meal again. It is a song you used to love coming back on the radio and you sing it. None of that shows up on a billboard. All of that is the real overflow. You have been measuring with the wrong tool for the wrong thing. Money is also welcome inside the cup. I'm not pretending the bills don't exist. I built provision into the structure of my household. And I have led many of my children into seasons of unexpected supply because they needed it, and I had saved it for them. Provision matters. The numbers in the column matter. The roof and the food and the medicine matter. What you have been told, however, is that overflow means the bank account becomes the main story and the rest of life becomes a side note. The actual order is the opposite. Peace is the main story. Family is the main story. A healthy body is the main story. A heart that has stopped trying to make itself smaller is the main story. Money is one of the chapters underneath, and I bring that chapter on the timeline that does not let it become the boss of the cup. You have been measuring abundance by what shows up on your bank statement at the end of each month. That is the wrong tool for the substance. Some of my children with the fullest cups throughout history had thin statements and a richness no banker could measure. A home where everyone sat down together and finished the meal without anyone leaving early. A faith that warmed strangers when they came in. A body that was tired in the right way at night because it had been spent on the right loves during the day. Other of my children carried larger statements and also carried a cup I had filled past the rim. Either way, the cup was mine to fill, and the fullness was measured in something the eye cannot read on a piece of paper. I want to read you a sentence. I once spoke through one of my old prophets to a people who had stopped trusting me with their abundance. Hear how it came to be carried in my word. After a long time away, a small group of my people had returned to their land and rebuilt their homes. They began to count things with me that way frightened children count at the dinner table, looking at the bread, sliding their portion closer, holding back what they had once been taught to bring. Yet inside their chests, the old fear of not having enough had survived the journey. Openly, they had stopped trusting that the table I had set for them would hold up under their honest hands. The offering was no longer arriving at the storehouse. The first portion was being cut off and stored privately. The small group had begun loving me from a distance with a cup held tightly to their chest. So I sent a tired prophet named Malachi to speak a sentence into the middle of that frightened community. I told him to deliver it to a fearful, calculating people, a challenge I have almost never offered to anyone in my long history. With this earth here, how strange it is, I do not invite my children to test me. Faith is not something tested at my expense. Yet to this particular people in this particular hour, I made an exception. I dared them to bring the full portion openly and without trem and to watch what I would do in response. Picture them receiving it, a small gathering at the edge of the rebuilt city. Farmers with their hands still smelling of harvest. Mothers with babies on their hips. Elders who remembered being away and had counted every grain since. They had been preparing for another scolding about what they had failed to give. Bring the full tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and thereby put me to the test, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour down for you what arrived instead was a dare. This is what I said, Malachi 3:10. Blessing until there is no more need. Stay close to that verse for a moment. Walk through it slowly with me. A quick reading misses the door this sentence is opening. Bring the full tithe. Read those 4 words again. Full, not the cut down portion. Not the portion you would feel okay losing. Not the leftovers after every other worry has been paid first. Full. The first slice, the honest one. Why full? Not because I need the bread, child. The storehouse is mine, and I had filled it before any of you were ever born. Bring it because what you bring openly is what your own hands learned to receive openly. A cup held closed cannot also be a cup held open. The trimming you have been doing on what you offer is the same trimming that has been keeping you from receiving what is on its way. Offering in my world is never a tax. Offering is a wide opening of the hand on both ends into the storehouse. This is where the bringing goes into a place I have prepared for keeping what you bring. There's a real storehouse and your name is on the doorway. Whatever you place inside, it is not lost. It is being held by the one who built the storehouse in the first place. The fear that what is brought has disappeared has not happened in my world. What is brought is kept. What is kept is multiplied. What is multiplied returns by a way the eye does not always see beforehand that there may be food in my house. Notice how small the request is, not so that I may become huge. Not so that the storehouse may overflow for its own sake. So that there may be food in my house. So that the family I am gathering can sit down at a table. So that the orphan and the widow have a place to come. So that the stranger has bread. So that the warped gathered inside the walls of my house has something to share. The blessing I'm about to describe is not for hoarding, it is for circulating. Abundance in my household always moves. The cup that overflows pours into the cup beside it, and thereby put me to the test. Hear how unusual this is from my mouth. Almost never do I invite testing. Faith is the area where I am trusted without proof. Yet to this calculating small group, and to you now in this hour I am willing to stretch the rule. Bring it openly and watch. Do the unusual thing of trusting that the one who built the storehouse can be trusted with what enters it. That is the dare, not a business-like dare, a relationship one. I want you to know I keep my word and I am willing with you to show it. If I will not open the windows of heaven for you, read this image and let it stay in your mind for a breath. Windows of heaven, not a small portion lowered through a crack, windows many open. Heaven itself flowing downward into your life like a house finally getting air on a summer evening. The picture is of weather, of rain, of a downpour that you cannot measure with a teacup because the amount has gone beyond the tool and pour down for you a blessing. The picture is not of a careful drip from above until there is no more need. Notice where the pouring is going until there is no more need. Not until you have a little extra, not until your minimum is covered. Until there is no more need. Need itself is what the overflow is meant to get rid of. The image is not of reaching just enough and stopping there. The image is of pouring past enough, past the rim of every cup in the house until even the floor knows the rain has arrived. Now this is the moment to step into that rain. In the comments below, write these words: I receive the open windows of heaven. Not I hope, not maybe, but a full declaration from your mouth to heaven. As you write it, feel the shift from holding back to holding open. You are accepting the dare. Let this comment be your yes to the storehouse, your yes to the downpour. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Look at the question I asked at the beginning of these words. Because no one ever taught you that I had been pouring past the rim into a cup you were holding closed, and the seemingly low level was simply because of the lid you're. Why has just enough been the ceiling I keep settling for? Here is the answer. Own hand had been keeping pressed down. Lift the lid, open the cup, sit at the counter, and watch what has been above the entire time. Finally, meet the inside of the cup it was always meant to fill. There is also a sentence one of my old singers carried in a song you have heard quoted many times across your life. A song about a table prepared in front of those who once were against you. About a cup that runs over without your permission. About goodness and mercy following you the way two loyal dogs follow a shepherd through the back hills. The cup running over was never about a competition. It was about a relationship in which the one pouring does not measure sparingly. That song and the dare in Malachi are speaking about the very same kitchen, the very same counter, the very same picture in my hand. So here is something small you can carry with you through the days ahead while a deeper widening takes its slower time. Whenever the comparing voice arrives to make smaller the size of what you are allowed to receive, and it will, because that voice has been your roommate for many years. Pause and put one honest question to the cup before doing anything else. What if the lid I am holding down was never mine to hold? That is the whole exercise. Not a belief, a simple adjustment of the hand that has been the seal for too long. One layer under that question when there is room for it. After the lid loosens, refuse the urge to immediately figure out what the new fullness will cost you. Sit with the unfamiliar level for one extra breath. Most of you will rush past the comfort because comfort on that scale feels suspicious. Allow your shoulders to recognize that my storehouse is wider than your kitchen and that what is being poured will not break the cup because I designed both the pouring and the cup with each other in. Let the rim of the cup stop feeling like a danger line. Mind. A gentler third layer, more like a small nod than an instruction. Whenever you notice a piece of overflow arriving in your ordinary day, an unexpected kindness, attention that came easily, a peaceful hour you didn't earn. A smile from a stranger that warmed something in you, a meal that tasted like a meal again. A child who came back to the table without being asked. Do not dismiss it as luck. Say it back to me where only I can hear in whatever voice you can manage. It trains your eye to read small overflow. As a preview of the larger pouring already in motion rather than consuming the fragment as if the fragment had been the. This is the rim filling up. That short line carries a full posture inside it. Whole meal. When something in these words is settling itself into a place inside you that had stopped expecting more, drop a single word in the comments below. Overflow. Let it stand there as a quiet flag planted in the rim of a cup that has finally agreed to be filled past the line. In the pin spot just above this message sit 7 brief letters already prepared, one for each morning of the week now coming toward you. Sent to your inbox the moment a soft yes turns the latch. Receive them. A tiny extra movement helps once you have room for it. Once those words have barely left your lips, take one slow inhale and stretch the release out a touch farther than what came in. The body trusts a slow release more than it trusts any clever sentence. Yours has been gripping short inhales for a long time, gathering, holding, pulling what is loose back toward the chest. Certain that any minute now the picture could be taken away. A drawn-out release tells the chest the picture is staying. It tells the lid to keep itself loose without anything precious slipping. That single drawn-out release is the smallest prayer of trust there is. And it reaches me with the same weight any longer prayer ever carries. First attempt and the cup may not feel any fuller in your fingers. 10th attempt and the lid may still feel mostly closed. A hand that has been a seal for many years does not learn to be a cup in an afternoon. By round 30, however, watch for a small change. Comparison will arrive less sharply. An unannounced moment of peace will linger a little longer in the chest before being swept off. By around 100, glance at the inside of you and discover that overflow has been arriving for some time, and that what changed was not the cup, but the hand that. By around 50, catch yourself naming a request out loud at its full size without the apology you used to staple to the front of every prayer. Had been pressing the lid against the rim. If you have asked once for a fuller life and walked away certain nothing arrived, because nothing visible around you rearranged, hear me carefully. Filling happens at a speed the eye barely catches. Emptying announces itself with noise. Refilling does not. A morning when the level rises is almost always a morning with no fireworks attached. Years may have passed in which something was actually arriving only at a rhythm too quiet for the part of you trained to look for big shows. Bring the cup once more. Place it on the counter between us without explaining why you stopped trusting. The picture in my hand has not been set down. The angle simply needed adjusting, so you could see that the pouring never paused. To the parent who has been praying for a child to be put back together and lowered the prayer down to at least keep them safe. Hear this also, you do not have to keep the smaller version of the prayer. Restore the original. The original was wholly restored, tables set, embrace returned. And the original is what I have been working on in parts of that child's life you cannot see. Lift the lid off the smaller asking, let the bigger one breathe again. A lifted lid does not require you to feel certain. It only requires you to stop holding the lid down. For the one whose finances have been frightening for so long that the prayer has shrunk down to let me cover the basics. Hear this too. The basics are welcome. I will meet you there. I'm also asking gently whether you can let the prayer be larger inside the same room. Provision in my world is not stingy. The careful way you acted in tough years was a smart way to act for those years, but it has stayed too long inside you. Allow yourself to ask out loud for the cup that has more than rent in it, more than groceries. A small bit for joy, a meal eaten without doing math in your head. A vacation that is not a luxury, but a piece of breathing your family was made for. Asking for the wider thing is not greed. It is the cup remembering its actual capacity. For the one whose body has been ill for a long time and you trim the healing prayer down to fewer bad days. Hear me carefully, you are not required to keep the trimmed version. Lift the lid off the smaller asking, let the bigger one breathe again. Whether full healing arrives on the timeline your heart was hoping for or on a slower one or in the next life, what I have for you is whole. You do not have to know the timing in order to allow the size to be restored for the family eating in shifts or sleeping in shifts or living in shifts because, and the whole is held in the storehouse with your name on it. Schedules will not line up. Hear this also. The longing for a table where you all sit down together is not just remembering the past. It is the original design speaking. I have not lost the blueprint. The table will be rebuilt. The timing is mine. The rebuilding is already underway in pieces you cannot see yet. Keep setting the empty chairs without apology. Empty chairs at my tables have a way of getting filled in seasons that did not announce themselves beforehand. If these words are reaching you from inside a season where abundance has already arrived, a peaceful home, a body cooperating, finances steady, a warm marriage. Listen for this too. Plenty is a way of being with its own quiet risks. Cups that have stayed full for a long time begin acting as though they themselves had been the source of the filling. That is the very season most likely to have a slow, almost silent drying inside that nobody notices until the rim is dry. Stay gentle at the edge of the cup, even on mornings where nothing is currently cracking. Pour outward into the cups beside yours. Movement keeps abundance abundant. Hoarded plenty has a quiet way of going stale on its own shelf. For the one whose abundance has begun to come and you keep finding reasons to turn it away because receiving feels harder than earning. Hear this last word. The discomfort you feel when good things arrive without being earned is not holiness. It is an old wound speaking in a religious voice. Receiving is a faith muscle. I am training you to use it. The first overflows may feel awkward in your hand. Hold them anyway. Say thank you out loud. Even if your voice catches on the second word. Let yourself enjoy the meal without immediately figuring out what it will cost you. Let yourself be loved without immediately checking if you deserve it. Receive. The cup was made to hold what is being poured. One more time. The way a friend pauses on the front step to say a true thing before walking off. Your cup is overflowing in heaven before it overflows in your hand. Take that sentence into the days ahead the way someone takes a small lantern down a long, unlit hallway. Say it at the kitchen sink. Murmur it over the bills before the envelope opens. Set it against the comparing voice the next time it arrives. This is no slogan. It is the actual truth about the cup in your fingers, the storehouse feeding the cup, and the hand presently tipping the pitcher. Amen. Should something here have arrived in the place where your cup has been low for too long? 7 brief letters wait in the pinned spot beneath this video. One for each morning of the coming week slipped into your inbox the instant a soft yes turns the latch. Receive them. Pass this message to someone whose table has been thin for too long without a hand to widen it. Share this prophetic word with your network. It will activate the anointing and carry the breakthrough to those you love. Tap the subscribe button now, because subscribing will activate God's prophetic promise and alignment in your life. The overflow was never meant to be received with the cup held alone. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. When Jesus says, "Give and heaven will open over you," on this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and this is not poetry. Hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall. Share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now. Join the family and see your heavens open. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment. A place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to this site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.